Good afternoon, welcome, and thank you for joining this active shooter webinar highlighting gunshot detection and security systems integration. My name is Kendra Noonan. I'm the Director of Communications for Shooter Detection Systems, and today we'll be showcasing the Guardian Indoor Active Shooter Detection System and the integration with Victor Unified Video Management Solution by American Dynamics, a Johnson Controls Tyco security product. Today, in collaboration with Tyco, our panelists will be discussing the active shooter problem, how it continues to rise, and what some of the problems are around active shooter response, and how gunshot detection is a critical solution that is easily incorporated into your security monitoring and active shooter protocols to reduce response time and save lives in an active shooter incident. As you're evaluating the purchase of gunshot detection, believe it or not, one of the questions we still get asked at SDS is the active shooter problem still a rising threat? And unfortunately, the answer is absolutely yes. With a nation and a world on edge over the rise in terror attacks and threats, what is astounding to us as we gather the statistics is that the typical active shooter incident, as defined by the FBI and DHS, rarely makes headline news anymore. It is that common. In fact, in the last 7 weeks alone, there were 4 mass shootings at workplaces. On May 12th, an Ohio nursing home shooting resulted in 4 deaths, including the police chief responding to the scene. On June 5th, an Orlando small business active shooter took 6 lives. Then on June 7th, a supermarket employee shot and killed 3 coworkers and himself. And on June 14th, at a UPS sorting facility in San Francisco, an employee fatally shot 3 people and wounded 2 others before turning the gun on himself. That's 17 lives taken by active shooter incidents in the last 7 weeks. This underscores why the Security 500 survey of enterprise security executives named workplace violence and the active shooter as the #1 threat facing their enterprises. So with those incidents in mind, let's take a closer look at the problem and our solution that we're going to present today. Our panelists today are Dan Michelini for Shooter Detection Systems and Jamie D'Souza for Tyco. Jamie is the Senior Product Manager with Johnson Controls Tyco Security Products American Dynamics brand of video surveillance products. Jamie's been a part of the product management team for over 4 years, focusing on Victor, which you'll see today, and his 15 years of experience in the industry has led him to be a contributor to OnVive and has been interviewed by security trade publications such as Security Magazine and Security Director Magazine. As the Senior Director of Sales and Marketing for Shooter Detection Systems, Dan Michelini is responsible for the continued growth and sales and market awareness of our gunshot detection technology. At SDS, Dan applies his many years of experience in the physical security industry, obtained from previous roles in channel management in pioneering video surveillance and analytic companies, to further the adoption and acceptance of our gunshot detection technology in the marketplace. Dan and Jamie, I want to thank you for being here, and Dan Michelini will start us off. So Dan, please jump in whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Kendra. Much appreciated for the warm welcome and also the overview of the issue as it stands today. So everyone on the audience, we greatly appreciate your time. We have lots of customers, current customers on the line, and potential new customers that are growing every day. We've got universities recently deployed in student unions. We have a couple municipalities we see on the line as well. Recently, just today actually received an order to start deploying in police stations in the New England market. So that being said, everyone, thank you. As Kendra mentioned, what I want to do over this presentation here in the next few minutes is provide an overview not only of the capability, the technology that Shooter Detection Systems is providing, but more importantly, the background, where we come from. So if we take a look at the active shooter threat, unfortunately, it is extremely unpredictable. In these incidents, they are evolving and escalating very, very quickly. The fact of the matter is that up until recently, there really were no technologies which could help to mitigate risk, which could improve and augment the policy and procedure that organizations are now putting into place to deal with the active shooter threat. So When we take a look at the events themselves, what we aim to do at Shooter Detection Systems is take key critical information and get it to those that can act on it. We want to take time away from the bad guy while providing actionable intelligence to first responders and those on the scene. So when we look at the incident, what we want to gather out of it is the what, when, where, and who. And what is it? Is it a gunshot, or is it something that sounds like a gunshot? A pallet falling off a forklift, a car backfiring. All these things can sound like the subsonic boom of a handgun. So that being said, past being able to identify with certainty what is going on, identifying timeline and location. Can we get movement of the shooter through the building? Can we put a timeline together? Last but certainly not least, and as you'll see today, can we get a visual ID right away? Can we ID the suspect? And you'll see how we do that by integration with the Victor platform. Because the reality dictates that, unfortunately, while the average incidents are around 12 minutes long, one of the largest delays in response is the human delay, the 4 to 6 minutes on the front end before 911 starts receiving their first calls. We as a society have changed the way we relay information. We've seen it as recently as the Orlando nightclub shooting, where Twitter was receiving posts before 911 got their first call. So it, again, just goes to show that more than ever, we need to be able to use technology to remove the human from the decision loop and allow those who need to get that information to get it as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So before I take a dive into the technology itself, I think it's vitally important to understand where we come from. There are many things that set us apart at Shooter Detection Systems, one of those being our pedigree and our history in gunshot detection. So if you take a look at the timeline, BBN Technologies is an R&D firm based out of Cambridge, Massachusetts, founded in 1948, most well known for acoustics research. In the late 90s, BBN was called up through a DARPA-funded research project to come up with a solution to a problem which our U.S. government was having, which was that our soldiers were getting shot at, sometimes not even realizing it till they'd return to base and find bullet holes in the sides of their vehicles. What BBN ultimately created is a unit which is today known as Boomerang. It's an acoustic array, a mast with 7 microphones coming off of it, which is designed for perimeter and point protection. So the Boomerang unit would mount to a Humvee or onto the base, and it would audibly report to the soldiers inside the vehicle all the key critical information around a shooter's location. So distance, direction, elevation, all of that was reported in real time back to the soldiers so they could respond accordingly. It went to full production in 2005, and at that time it was so accurate, they integrated it with the automatic weapon systems on the vehicle. So now, not only did it audibly report the shooter's location to the soldiers in the vehicle, it would also slew the guns, the 50 cal guns, and then the soldier just needed to pull the trigger to eliminate the threat. BBN was a recipient of numerous awards from the U.S. government for saving soldiers' lives. Right around 2009, Raytheon acquires BBN. The company still exists today, and the continued development of various platforms was done under the guidance of Raytheon. So not only body-worn units, but also units that were successfully deployed on helicopters. So this, again, just goes and speaks to the acoustic knowledge, acoustic competence of BBN Raytheon, because not only did these units have to cancel out any outgoing gunfire, they also had to cancel out any noise from the prop overhead while being able to report a shooter's location from a single round coming inbound and do that accurately. So that said, if we continue along the timeline, you'll notice that around 2013, there started to be development of an indoor commercially available application, what is today known as Guardian. So Shooter Detection Systems was founded by Chris Connors. Chris was with BBN and Raytheon throughout the deployment of the Boomerang unit to the U.S. government, and Chris saw an opportunity. So Chris started Shooter Detection Systems after acquiring all the IP behind the Guardian, the indoor variant. And then, like any good entrepreneur, Chris takes the team that he was working with at Raytheon and BBN, being our CTO, our lead product design engineers, VPs on both the business and technical side of the house, and brings them over to Shooter Detection Systems to do again successfully for indoor gunshot detection what was done successfully with the outdoor solution. So when we take a look at what Guardian comprises, Guardian is a system of both sensors and software. Sensors themselves are actually two-factor authentication, looking for both acoustic as well as infrared signals. So the acoustics isn't just looking for a decibel increase, it's actually looking for a specific signature of a round being discharged. The IR then validates, and when we're looking for IR, we're not looking for muzzle flash that we see with the human eye. We're not looking to actually see the weapon discharge. We're looking for the non-visible light spectrum, which just like sound scatters. So even if the weapon is fully occluded, even if the weapon discharge cannot be seen by the sensor, the system is a field of view system, not a line of sight system. So we will still be able to capture and report back on that. In terms of the reporting itself, what's important to note is that all of our solutions, all the sensors themselves, make the decision at the device level. We do not need to report back over the network. We do not need to analyze anything on a server or off-site at a third-party station. All decision is done at the device level, making it much more secure than some acoustic-only options. The entire reason that we use a two-factor authentication is because we wanted to have a very high degree of accuracy, a system which did not false alert. The reality, as we all know, any technologies which are constantly false alerting are going to present a challenge in the fact that they become white noise. People will eventually unplug them or just stop using them altogether. So the fact that the two-factor authentication was put in, being validated by both infrared as well as acoustic, has given us a solution with a current track record of 16 million hours of field time deployed without one issue of a false alert. So there's no calibration required at the sensor level. They're intelligent devices. They know their ambient light and ambient sound. But when a shot is detected, within sub 1 second, we report that through a simple text file back over the network to our situational awareness platform, which is our communication software. The sensors themselves are calibrated down to a small caliber handgun like a .22. Larger caliber, we can detect at a much greater distance, but we will detect a .22 at a 40-foot distance from the sensor. Again, all of this being done without having any issue or any concern with false alerts. When we take a look at layout and design, we get questioned a lot on, well, you know, what is a typical design look like? And the reality is that there's not an easy way to answer that. Very much like a camera project or access control project, it can vary depending on what areas of coverage. We typically see users covering about 40% of their overall usable square footage. This is going to comprise higher risk, higher probability areas. Places such as entry points, lobbies, hallways, areas of congregation like a cafeteria or auditorium, maybe areas that are more sensitive in a corporate environment, whether that be the HR department or an executive suite. These are all areas where we typically see coverage being required right out of the gate. In a healthcare facility, it's almost always the emergency department as well as the entry points to the building that we see. So really, we work closely with our integrator partners and the end user directly to determine where they are looking to get coverage, and we provide coverage accordingly. What's important to note is that despite all of the testing we've done internally, some of the best validation we have is from third-party testing. So whether it's major metro cities, being a part of now 5 of the DHS-sponsored active shooter trainings, international airports which have tested and deployed the solution. One of the best responses we received was from a very large police unit overseas. They tested the solution for 6 months and told us from the onset they were looking to show that we would not live up to the specs that we put forth. They called us a day before Thanksgiving of last year and said not only did we meet, but exceeded both the specifications as well as their expectation of what the system could do. And they are now deploying in many of the government buildings, police departments, and hopefully a major international airport very soon. We talk a lot about the front-end device, the sensor itself, because honestly, that's where the vast majority of the work is done. But that being said, the communication platform, our situational awareness software, which you'll see here shortly, is vitally important as well. The situational awareness software has been tested and validated by major, well-known cloud provider companies out in the Bay Area, large chem companies in the Texas market. These are household names that you guys know and use every day of the week. The live fire events that we've done, quite a few recently at some major airports in the Northeast, are a great way to see the system in action. So we'll actually go out, deploy, set up sensors, and with these agencies, whether it's FAA, DHS, TSA, work in conjunction to show how the technology can augment and improve the responders' time and ability to get the best outcome out of these events. So you can see from the slides, we can go around the board. Unfortunately, there is no one market, no one industry where this problem of active shooter threat is more prevalent. So whether it's healthcare, schools and universities, some major utility customers, we just recently won a project with a large regional bank for multi-site, multiple buildings deployment. We work with large retailers, guys that have locations on Fifth Ave in New York. We work with manufacturing facilities, auto manufacturers, a lot of commercial property and high-rises in major metro cities where they want to deploy and protect their tenants and give an extra layer of security to their tenants by providing our solution in their buildings. But far and away, the vast majority of our customer base are corporate enterprise as well as municipalities. Between these two markets, about 90% of the overall business comes out of both corporate as well as municipal space. So I've mentioned at length about the sensor itself. When we take a look at the back-end communication, though, that's vitally important in terms of how we relay information. So our situational awareness software resides on a network, extremely lightweight by today's standards, can run in a virtual environment, can run on dedicated or existing hardware. And when a sensor receives a notification of the gunshot, sends it over the network, all PoE devices, back to our software. From the software itself is where we communicate that out, whether it's through our graphical user interface, which is a map, which we'll see here shortly, the ability to email or text. Third-party integrations are phenomenal. We work with access control companies such as Software House and their Secure 9000 product. We work with video management companies like Victor, like American Dynamics and Victor. And then beyond that, we do have the ability to tie into mass notification platforms as well, guys like Everbridge and other major providers. That being said, the ability to tie in through a network I/O device and communicate via relay or dry contact is very important for us as well. Through this method, we're able to tie directly into alarm panels, sirens, strobes. We've even done some very unique integrations with digital radios. So through an annunciator, a text-to-speech box, we were able to communicate over digital radios a shooter's location to guards rather than having them have to look down at a device to see what's going on and respond accordingly. So again, here's a screen grab showing some of the user interface, which we'll demonstrate here in a moment during the live fire. And again, all the ways we communicate, whether it's through mass notification, video management, access, even alarm panels. So with that being said, at this point, I'd like to hand the reins over to Jamie D'Souza. Jamie, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Dan. Before we get into the demo, I wanted to take a moment just to make sure everyone attending the webinar here is familiar with the Victor platform. HEICO and American Dynamics has a long legacy with video management systems. Victor is really the culmination of all those years of experience into one single platform. And the intention for the platform is to really bring together video surveillance with our VideoEdge NVR together with numerous other security subsystems that you typically see in a command center in today's security environments. Dan mentioned software house Secure 9000. Victor is, we talk about Victor being a unified video management platform, and the other side of that unification is the integration or tied together with the Secure 9000 system. But above and beyond that, we can tie in fire, intrusion, and other subsystems, and that's what you're seeing here as an example with shooter detection systems, all correlated into our powerful interface. The net benefit is that we create a seamless view of the entire enterprise, enabling that situational awareness Dan's talking about in those type of live active shooter type situations. So we enable this entire ecosystem to come together and provide that seamless view for command and control. Now, in terms of features that Victor offers, Victor's a very feature-rich video management system, but I wanted to just highlight a few. So what you're seeing here are what we consider the 4 pillars in which our features fall into. The first pillar is really centered around the monitoring of live video, real-time video. We have a very strong feature set when it comes to enabling command centers, whether it's being able to drive maps, being able to collaborate with video walls, or collaborate with other users who may have Victor installed on their workstations. Any component there is part of the video ecosystems. So from a single operator workstation, we can push video anywhere in the command center or into a war room or situation awareness room if there is an event going on, right? That room could be pretty much dormant, but as people are assembling because something is happening, video can start to be pushed over there and pop there. Remote users can come into the ecosystem using our Victor mobile app. So I think those are all kind of core requirements for any video system that be deployed in an enterprise type of application. The vertical markets that we serve overlap with what Dan showed previously as well. Our 7 core verticals are covered in that, what we're covered in that map, so you can see from these features. These are usually table stakes for those type of applications. I mentioned the VideoEdge NVR being our native NVR platform that we have the deepest functionality with Victor. It offers a suite of video analytics as well. So we do talk about the system being an intelligent video management platform. In terms of investigative and forensic tools, though, this is where we start to get into our differentiators above and beyond analytics. Being able to give investigators powerful tools can sometimes reduce the time it takes to investigate an incident, but above and beyond that, really helps to put together your cases or incidents into very concise packages that lead to higher apprehensions with law enforcement. At least this is what we've heard from law enforcement, and we've heard this from the FBI. The better that case is put together and assembled, the higher the likelihood is of an investigator to really dig into what the event was and guarantee some type of closure there or apprehension. So we have a very strong set of tools that enable that investigating and forensic capability. And then the last pillar here is around cybersecurity, and this is another trend that you're probably all seeing in the media in terms of breaches into different businesses. And the last thing we'd ever want at Johnson Controls or Tyco Security Products is to be the victim of that or to hear our name ever mentioned in the media as being the system that created the attack surface that allowed the breach to happen. So we have a very strong cybersecurity program that's comprised of several pieces you see listed here. I think the most relevant one for end users of our products is going to be our vulnerability notifications. So as part of our cybersecurity program, you can sign up for notifications that we send out whenever a vulnerability, cyber vulnerability has been discovered in the industry. We'll typically send out a response the next day. All of our responses have been within 24 hours, notifying our customers if we were affected, how we're affected, if there's an immediate workaround, what that may be, and then we usually set an expectation of when our follow-up communication would be on when we'd have it remediated, and typically those type of notifications have been able to been sent out within a week or two. So this type of guidance is what I think customers value. Most people understand that there are probably deficiencies in software out in the world right now that haven't been found, but once the bad guys do find them, they expect us as their system manufacturer to be able to give them guidance immediately, and typically the threshold for that guidance is a couple of weeks. Right after that, that's when IT starts saying if we haven't heard something, take off the network. So we have a very strong cybersecurity position as well. All right, so this slide here is intended to just take a moment to talk about the scalability of our system. I know there are lots of different attendees that based on company name look like they probably come from a whole spectrum of size of organizations. I think in terms of this presentation, what's really relevant is going to be Victor Professional. Victor Professional is intended for multi-site, multi-workstation environments. I think that fits the profile of the type of a customer that would be looking to leverage a shooter detection system or larger, but we have a really nice way of being able to take our Victor Professional platforms in instances where a customer may have a system that breaks the threshold of the specification of the system. We have a very easy way to replicate that Victor Professional system and scale it up to about 40 times the size of the Victor Professional system, which today serves some of our largest customers worldwide, some of the largest tech firm and multinationals that are using our systems. And the enterprise solution that we have is actually based on the enterprise solution developed by Software House for CQ9000. Since we are a unified platform, we do use the same back end, so we are able to leverage their model for federating and scaling out their enterprise system. I think the point really here is for the audience that we're yet to find a customer worldwide in type of security products that this architecture does not serve. So we have a very modular way of scaling from very small to very large, in a very open way to integrate any number of integrations into those platforms. The last slide here is just talking about the client options themselves. We frequently get asked the question in terms of clients, what do we offer? I think everyone expects these days there to be a mobile app, and we do have a mobile app. The mobile app is really a distilled version of what you could expect in the Victor client or the traditional Windows client of Victor. The traditional Windows client is going to provide the full video experience, all the differentiators you saw listed on the slide, a couple slides previous, and is going to host a full portfolio of our integrations, including the shooter detection systems. And then for operators who may be coming in on a remote connection and may need a video experience somewhere in the middle, we have our Victor web client as well. So we have a whole range of clients here, ranging from that app experience all the way to the full Victor that would enable any feature that we could foresee needed in our most active command center type customers. So I think with that, I'll pass it back over to Dan, and I think we can let everyone see, I think, what you really came for today, which is the demonstration.
Excellent. Jamie, thank you very much for the overview on the Victor platform. So as Kendra is readying the system, what you're going to witness today is actually two different demonstrations. The first will be with the Shooter Detection Systems platform on its own. What you're going to see out of that is our situational awareness client, see a mapping user interface. You'll see the text and email capabilities as they come up. And then we are going to take a run through with the integration with Victor. So you'll see how adding and augmenting video management and getting camera call up and eyes on target immediately benefits and adds additional value to the overall solution. So Kendra is going to ready the system, and we have a very fortunate shooter, Kevin Leck, who is our VP of Operations, is going to be our active shooter, mock active shooter today, using blank rounds in the office outside of Boston. So Kendra, how are we doing?
We're ready when you guys are.
All right, beautiful. Well, thank you again for setting it up. Kevin Leck, when you are ready, please go ahead and take the shot.
Shot detected.
So as you can see, the situational awareness map, the floor plan is up, and you're seeing the immediate notification coming through via text and email, as well as a sensor on the map emitting a red halo. And then you can see from the icon trail below what these colors will mean as Kevin fires subsequent shots.
Shot detected.
So as subsequent shots fired, what we're providing is a breadcrumb trail. The idea that you can quickly visually identify where the shooter is moving through a building. You'll notice on the left-hand side of the screen as well that there are multiple floors, multiple buildings in this. There's no need for an operator or human to toggle between floors. Should the shooter adjust position, change floor, and take a shot, this will pop up automatically to the floor that the shooter is on. You'll notice on the right-hand side the shot timeline. This is chronicling all the different shots that have gone on to provide a timeline of events during the shots.
Shot detected.
And as Kevin takes a third and final shot, again, you'll notice that the text and emails are coming through in real time, as well as the additional information being added to the shot timeline. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Kendra, for that demonstration. And now, Kendra, if you will reset the system and have the Victor integration showing as well.
Hang on just one sec. There.
All right, so what we're going to do is a very similar sequence. Kendra has cleared all the screens. Kendra, do you want to pull the one live screen up? Oh, there we go. Hey, Kevin, can you wave to the crowd? Hey, Kevin, thank you. So Kendra will clear that camera off. And Kevin, when you are ready, please go ahead and take shots.
Shot detected.
So again, you'll notice very similar with the user interface. We're showing the position on the map of the shot while simultaneously being able to call up camera to get instant eyes on target.
Shot detected.
Here again, you're seeing all of this information being provided to you through the Victor platform. So you're seeing the user interface, you're seeing the map, you're seeing the shots as they are discharged, and the camera call-up functionality in real time.
Shot detected.
And as Kevin takes a third and final shot from the conference room, again, you can see in real time how the cameras display, stay up and loaded so that further information, further intelligence can be gathered from the scene. And this is all going back in real time to those who need it, whether it's on-site security staff in a security operations center, being able to provide the text and email capability to any number of people, and then even tying into alarm panels for immediate notification to law enforcement and others. So with that being said, guys, Kendra, Kevin, I want to thank you very much for that excellent demonstration of the system in action. Kendra, I'd like to hand it over to you. I believe I did see some Q&A popping up here as we were presenting. So if you'd like to go ahead and see if we can address some of these questions that the audience has.
Yes, sure. Thanks, everyone that participated here. So we do have some questions in. I don't know that we're going to get to them all, but we'll lay out a few here. I'll start with you, Dan. A lot of people ask, does the system alert on suppressed weapons?
Thank you. Yeah, we do get that quite a bit. The answer is that yes, we have tested to suppress weapons. Despite what Hollywood has most people believe, a suppressor does not silence a weapon completely. It still emits both acoustic signature as well as infrared light. So for those reasons, within our specs, within our range, we are able to capture suppressed weapon fire without issue.
All right, thanks. And Jamie, this one's for you. So which tiers of Victor does this integration with the Guardian system work?
Yeah, so a couple slides back there, I showed you 3 tiers in terms of scale with Victor Express, Pro, and Enterprise. So this integration would work with Professional, Victor Pro, and Victor Enterprise.
All right, and Dan, we have a lot of different types of facilities being represented on the line. So people usually ask, and it's come in a few times, that how many sensors would a typical facility require?
Sure. So again, much like any other type of technology within the physical security realm, it all depends on what we need covered, what the user would like to see for coverage areas. We have some systems that will cover perimeter access points. We can have systems as small as a handful of sensors. And then we have others that are multi-building, campus-wide environments that are north of 400 sensors. So it all depends on what the user deems as their important areas of coverage. But again, as I mentioned before, we work very closely with the client, with their integrator partner to ensure that the coverage areas that they're looking for coverage are accomplished.
All right, thanks. And back to Jamie. Which Tyco video recorder would support all of these features with Victor?
Yeah, so Tyco, we manufacture several different video recorder lines, all of which are supported in Victor, but the feature set that you saw me talking about in the pillars, those features that matter, are all features that are derived from using the Video Edge NVR with Victor. So typically Video Edge is where we have the deepest set of functionality with Victor.
All right, thanks. And again, Jamie, can users see alarms from SDS in both Victor Event Viewer and in Maps? And can the map zoom in on the alarm point?
Yeah, so that's just a matter of configuration, but that's right. You should see the alarms coming in simultaneously into the event viewer and on the maps, and then the maps can be configured to zoom in on that alarm. So if you're dealing with like a large campus, a large hospital, and you're looking at a large floor plan, these points can sometimes be very small. So that's just a matter of configuration on the maps, and you can configure it so that it zooms in on the alarm. When the map item the alarm is triggered, and then in the event viewer, when that event does roll in, I'm not sure if you saw that, but there was also instructions on how to handle the event, so we can give very detailed information in parallel to that map trigger on how to handle the event simultaneously. All that together really increases that reaction time that we find saves lives, right? That reduces minutes and reaction time in the command center, which is very valuable.
Great, thanks. And I think we'll take one last question. Dan, can the Guardian system be deployed outdoors?
It's a good question. The truth of the matter is no. The Guardian sensors themselves are not outdoor rated for a handful of reasons. 2 biggest ones being we do not like direct rain. They are not weatherproof, nor do we want direct sunlight on those. We do have the ability to provide the Raytheon Boomerang unit for certain outdoor applications. Typically, we see that being provided in areas where larger coverage area is required, such as stadiums, points of protection for various things like hospitals or airports. And then as well, the major market for that technology has always been utilities and CIP 14 regulated sites. So if there is an interest in outdoor, we can absolutely look at it on a case-by-case basis to make sure that the Boomerang unit is the appropriate technology for the desired outcome.
All right, great. Thanks, Dan and Jamie. I think with that, if there's any questions out there that you've asked through the WebEx system that we didn't answer, we will capture those and get back to you upon close of the webinar. And I want to thank our panelists and participant, Kevin. Thank you for being our mock active shooter. And I hope all of you got to see how this technology is such an extremely important part of an overall approach to strengthening your active shooter response protocols, where we provide the immediate, accurate information needed to initiate these protocols with confidence. If you have a question directly for SDS, I invite you to email us at sales@shooterdetectionsystems.com. And please check out our upcoming events page of the website, shooterdetectionsystems.com. For future webinars and trade shows, find out where we're going to be, where you can meet us, and also where we'll be probably demoing some things in the future with Tyco security products at future shows. And if you're a security consultant or designer that's interested in our A&E consultant program, please visit our website or email consultants@shooterdetectionsystems.com. And if you have any questions for Jamie about Victor, he can be reached at you're at tycoint.com, correct?
Yes, that is correct. You got it.
And I want to thank everyone for joining us again, and hope you have a great day and you stay safe.
Thank you, Kendra.
Thank you, everyone.